All right, buddy, what's up? Hit me up.
Yeah. How's the sound?
The sound is beautiful, my dude.
Oh, nice. Okay. Just a little bit about myself. I'm autistic. I got diagnosed a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm also a little bit drunk from last night. It's
Okay.
9:30. I'm from Germany. Um, and I've made sorry, I've made some notes yesterday because I saw the discussion with the other autistic kid,
Okay.
and I really disagree. I'm sorry, I just woke up and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
drunk autist who smokes. Yeah, that's me.
All right.
um,
What are we doing? I think I know where you're going with this argument.
yeah, you actually the half of my argument you stated yourself with homosexuality.
Mm-hmm.
That it's kind of similar when you're
Listen,
uh,
whatever you do, don't read the chat. It's okay. Just concentrate.
yeah, I just closed the window.
Okay. Good job.
uh, Sometimes it's just really hard for me to communicate with other people, and that's actually one of my points. And I made notes yesterday.
All right.
Just let me. Um, yeah, maybe the first point I want to talk about is empathy and what empathy really means, and in the context of autism.
Okay.
Um, the prevailing theory among scientists who research autism is that there are like two kinds of empathy: cognitive empathy and empathy that you feel, where you relate to other people.
Yeah.
And what most researchers actually think is that people with autism have more problems in the department of cognitive empathy. So really, what you described as looking into someone's eyes and knowing what they feel. And that a lot of problems with empathy in autistic people stem from more of a cognitive side of empathy.
Oh, I didn't know that. I would
And
have assumed it would have been the other way around.
no. And I think that ties into something that is not really talked about in relation to autism, which is, fuck, what's the word? I wrote it down. Yeah, a fundamental misunderstanding that looking someone in the eyes and knowing what they feel is actually a sign of empathy. Isn't actually a sign of empathy because that's what, like, sociopaths, for example, can do flawlessly. Autistic people, like myself, have problems with filtering the information that comes from outside, like loud noises, like bright colors, light. I'm. It's 9:30 in the morning here, and I'm sitting in a dark room with sunglasses because my monitor is too bright for me. And I think when you are communicating with another person, there are so many subtle informations, just beside from all the things that are in your environment that you can concentrate on when you're talking with another person or interacting.
This kind of sounds more like ADHD to me.
Yeah, it's quite similar. It's quite similar, and they are both diagnosis criteria for both, actually. And some researchers actually think that ADHD and autism are on a similar spectrum.
Okay.
And yeah, okay, I got that point. Yeah, I have to refer to my notes. Sorry.
No problem.
And the thing with, but another thing with the point of empathy also could be that it's more the realm of experience that you generally, as a human being, whether you're autistic or not, empathize more with people that are in your own realm of experience. What I experience when I interact with my neurotypical friends or any person that is not autistic is that they just don't understand how I need to act, how I react to certain situations. And so the level of empathy is quite low. And you hear really hurtful stuff like, can you just concentrate? Can you just listen to me? Just from the top of my head, just stuff where the other person doesn't understand you and you don't understand the other person on an emotional level because you don't have the same experience.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, sure. I understand. You're saying that there's difficulties with empathy on both sides because somebody that's not autistic can't necessarily empathize with somebody that is autistic, right?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So, where are we going
Do
from
you have
here?
any questions so far?
No, I think I understand you.
And okay, the next point should be curing autism.
Okay.
The problem with curing autism is that it's genetically that is a genetic trait that you're born with, and there is no cure. There are drugs that can alleviate some problems you have in your day-to-day life. Like here in Berlin, where I live, there actually is a test run at a university hospital with MDMA to alleviate stress.
Yeah, I'm aware of this. So autism, ASD, autism spectrum disorder, isn't even necessarily one disease. It could be a collection of diseases. It could be or I say disease, but it could be a collection of conditions or a collection of different kind of genetic things. There is no single, like an SMP. There's not like a single gene that would need to be changed to quote unquote cure autism. It's a very, very complicated collection of things that isn't very well understood, is my understanding of it. So whenever I'm talking about curing autism, I'm talking in a very hypothetical, best condition world. Obviously, if we were to ever cure it, or if whatever, that would be many, 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 many years down the line. It's a very complicated thing, right?
Yeah, I don't really think from the research I read and the professionals and activists I spoke with that there is a cure for autism. That what we call autism now is just a diversity factor of the human condition. That it's always been there and will always be there, and the problem with that is that organizations like Autism Speaks fund research for identifying genetic markers for autism and just breed us out of the population. Just go all eugenics on our ass.
So and, there's two different things being made here. Like, is it not possible to recognize that autism might be something that you would want to cure while not going full eugenics? Isn't that a possibility? Or
sorry, say again.
Isn't it possible that you could recognize that maybe autism is something we would want to prevent people from having while simultaneously not like going full eugenics on people? Can't those two positions exist simultaneously?
I don't think so, because if we accept autism as a spectrum of the human condition, we can mold society more to a point where it is easier for autistic people to empathize and exist as productive members of society, and also the other way around, that we can heighten the level of empathy and understanding in neurotypical people for autistic people.
Sure, and, but I mean, like, we can also make the world easier for like handicap accessible people, for people that don't have legs or have injured legs, but that doesn't necessarily mean
that's what we're doing, actually.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's like a desirable condition to be without legs, right? That would still be something that you would strive to cure. Like, we still try to cure people that are crippled, right?
Yeah, the problem is the word desirable. Nobody wants to be born without legs or born autistic, but we don't have a choice.
Yeah, of course, yeah, at the moment, right? But it's the idea of searching for ways to alleviate that, whether we do find enough genetic markers that can be tweaked or whatnot, right? Isn't that kind of the point of things like CRISPR or whatever, is trying to find... and again, I understand that like we're really, really, really far off of anything like that, at least. From my understanding, again, like we don't even fully understand ASD as a genetic disease right now, whether it's a single one or a collection of diseases or how that works.
Yeah, and I really don't like the term disease.
Yeah, sure.
Disorder may be right now, but I don't think it's a disease. It's something I wouldn't miss from my life. And what I see of people describing themselves as sick or having a disease, their problems mostly stem from their position that other people rather don't know how to handle them. You brought up the point that autistic people can be violent or dangerous, and I don't think that's the case, actually, because when you see like the autism documentary by Louis Theroux, where this autistic kid has a total freak out, and his mom tries to calm him by holding him down. That's actually not how you deal with an overload or a meltdown.
Sure, but we've got two things going here. Is one, I think there are people that are so far down that road that they are very prone to having those meltdowns. And two, you're talking about people that are having meltdowns that they otherwise wouldn't if they weren't autistic, right? There are levels of low functioning autism that make it very, very, like, I don't think if you're low functioning enough, I don't think you can ever even live on your own, like without any amount of help. Like, you constantly have a caretaker, right? I don't think.
Yeah, but you can still write fucking books, dude. So
yeah, sure. And again, a person without legs can also write books as well, but that doesn't mean that like missing legs should be something that we just accept and move on from and never hope to do anything about, right?
Yeah, but I think from your previous discussions, I'm following you for like a year and a half now, really. You're big on the concept, if we can shape society in a way that can so society can have the best starting points for the most individuals. we are better off in the long run.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. But that doesn't necessarily mean failing to recognize if something is like making somebody like objectively strictly worse off, right? I mean, like,
sure.
you want to create a society that's accepting to everybody, but that doesn't mean that like people, it's okay, like we need to make it so that if people are born blind or deaf, like that's okay, and we're never going to try to cure that. Like if we had a switch we could flip to cure deaf or blind people, we're not going to do it because society is so accepting. I don't agree with that point of view. So like I guess what I'm saying is I think we can simultaneously work towards cures for things but still be accommodating to the people with those conditions or syndromes or whatever.
Yeah, and maybe if there's I don't really see a society without autistic people, because I think it would rob humanity of some really exceptional individuals, and I don't think.
Why do you think their autism defines their exceptionalism? Why do you think these people would be otherwise unexceptional without being autistic?
No. I don't think individual people would be unexceptional without their autism. But from my own experience and what I experience when interacting with other people in the autistic community, it's their different view of the world that drives them to think in different ways and to express themselves in different ways.
Yeah.
But
there's
but I see. Sorry, I see your point. If we could cure autism in a non-eugenic way,
So like looking at what you're saying, like, and this is kind of something that happened to the last person I talked to. I think there's a lot of survivorship bias going on here. Like you see somebody that is doing well in spite of a condition, or maybe because of a condition, and then suddenly that condition becomes permissible. I think this is a really fallacious line of thought. So like, let me give you an example. Let's say that you go and you bomb a village, okay, and a bunch of people die, but a few people survive and get out. Let's say that these people that survive and get out are so inspired by whatever happened that they decide to go on and become successful politicians and whatnot, and they that's a big story from their lives. When I saw the horrors of war and the atrocities, I decided that I was going to go into politics and try to make the world a better place, right?
Yeah.
Do you then from there go forward and say, okay, well, we need to be bombing these civilians because there are people that have had really great success being survivors of these types of bombings, right? And it sounds kind of absurd to say that, but like you're talking to me about autistic people that maybe are doing really well in spite of their autism, but what you're not talking about, and if you're part of any autistic community,
not
like,
despite.
Sure, even because of like the bombing victims, but
not
there are
not even doing well, dude.
Sure, but I'm saying that like there are tons of autistic people that don't get along like that have severe problems all throughout their life, that are bullied through school, that have no friends, that can't live on their own, whose families resent them. So
I know this shit.
Well,
from personal experience.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just saying it kind of bothers me that you come at this from well, I know some autistic people that are doing really well when the majority of people with autism struggle greatly with it, some more than others. But then you make it sound like it's okay because some people do okay with it. It seems that seems kind of strange.
No. Maybe I'm just not communicating in the right way. That's not at all what I'm trying to say. What I want for society is to create more understanding of autistic people, and for autistic people, more understanding of neurotypical people and their conditions.
Yeah.
Because it's not a fucking one-way street. And
I agree with you, but I'm just
where we. Yeah.
I agree. I'm just saying that it doesn't have to be like mutually exclusive. Like we can simultaneously recognize that it would be nice if we could find ways to get rid of ASD in the future with newly born children if that's possible, while still simultaneously understanding what people with ASD go through today and being more accommodating to them and whatnot as well, right?
Yeah, sure. It's my argument is really based on my own feelings and my own experiences I made with being different. I've been diagnosed extremely late in my life. I'm now 31, and I've got diagnosed with 30, and I would have really liked to be diagnosed earlier in my life, so I didn't think I was a fucking sociopath or something, or any other condition I could think of because of my problems. And what I really want is just to alleviate the problems and the difficulties of understanding on both sides. And it's really grounded in my own feelings that I don't want to be cured. It's really, really hurtful when you get resented for the way of being your whole life, and then people talk about curing you.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but like, so here's my problem. Okay, I'm gonna get super real here. Okay, is that it seems like the problem you're running into is like you're defining the entirety of what you are based on the fact that you're autistic, right? So like when somebody talks about curing your autism, you view that autism as being like a really large part of your personality. And all of a sudden that's kind of like a personal affront to you. Like I guess my goal for people, and I know this is really hard to do, but like I think that you can simultaneously acknowledge something that is negative but still have an overall positive opinion of yourself, right? So like for me personally, like I can acknowledge that I'm relatively weak or that I'm short, right? I can acknowledge these things. Like, would it be nice to be like 2 or 3 inches taller? Like, yeah, sure, I guess I could be like 6 foot or 5'10", right? Now, I can acknowledge that as, like a potential negative. Like, okay, yeah, sure, I'm short, and in general, it's
I'm short and left-handed.
Yeah,
so,
sure. So like, but you can you can acknowledge something like this, but still feel okay about yourself. Like you can acknowledge that and be like, okay, well, yeah, but it's whatever. It's not a big deal. It's not like a defining aspect of my personality. It's not like I'm not going to stay up at night thinking about it all day. And, if let's say in the future you find out that let's say there was a pill you could take to make you 5'10", right? And let's say that this is like a highly desirable trait in society, right? But it's only available to like children in the future, or it's not a pill, but it's like a genetic modification in the womb, right? If somebody were to say like, hey, we can cure people of their shortness, right? I mean, like, yeah, okay, sure. Like I guess it doesn't like offend me that some people would want to be taller. Like I'm okay with that, and if it's not available to me, like that's fine. Or I can't cure that aspect of myself because it's not the entire defining part of my personality. I noticed that with the other girl that I talked to yesterday who was autistic. And I'm getting into I'm making very, very heavy-handed statements here, and it might not be fair, but I see a lot of overlap between. Are you familiar with the deaf community?
No.
So I see overlap between thoughts of the deaf community and the autistic community that really worry me. And that's where you take your condition or syndrome or whatever, and you make it like a defining aspect of your character, such that you're scared to ever talk about it in a negative light because it's such an important part of who you are. And I feel like in a way that's a little reductionist. Like autistic people are for the most part fully functioning human beings, right? Unless you have severe problems related to your autism. Like autistic people are just normal people that have problems with some things. When you talk about getting rid of that autism and you make it sound like you're removing a significant part of them, I feel like you're making the autistic part of your personality so much more than it actually is. Right? It's kind of how I feel.
Maybe.
But to give like a quick example for
totally valid argument,
yeah, to give a quick example for the deaf community. So the deaf community very much build a culture, or some of them, I guess. I don't know how the percentage, but very much build a culture around being deaf. And it's such a big thing to them that they will ostracize or demonize some people that go for the cochlear implants. Right? They think that that's a betrayal of the deaf community for somebody to seek the ability to hear.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, they're very, very. But all of the arguments they make are the same argument that you're making, right? Well, deaf culture is beautiful. There's a lot of things you pick up being deaf, learning the sign language, being part of the culture, and for you to cure that deafness, like, what are you saying? That there's something wrong with us, that we're broken because we can't hear? Like, these are the exact same arguments that the deaf community makes.
Yeah, but these kind of feelings stem from a lot of rejection and hurtful experiences you make in your life when you have a disability, and I can totally relate to that. But I don't necessarily think that it's the right way to approach. Hypothetically, if you could cure autism or not not really cure autism, breed it out of the population or something.
I'm uncomfortable when you say breed it out of the population, because I would never advocate for like restricting autistic people from having kids or like forcing like sterilization. I'm uncomfortable when you say like breed it out. If you're talking about things like genetic modifications, like I'm okay with that. But like when you say breed it out, I don't know what you mean if you're getting like really hardcore there.
But that's the way most organizations like Autism Speaks
they advocate for that. They want to go like full John.
They really yeah, and they advocate for therapies like ABA, where you train people to like fucking dogs to act normal, and they advocate for MMS, that is a therapy where you have two chemical compounds that when you ingest them are like fucking chlorine, like industrial grade chlorine and stuff. It's really, really horrible. And that
sounds really fucked up. I don't know what Autism Speaks is, but that sounds really fucked up, dude. I don't know anything about it, but
yeah, dude. I sent you a Twitter DM couple of months ago with a couple of links and videos and stuff relating to that. But yeah, I totally understand the notion that when you like deify your own condition to a point where it just totally defines yourself. The thing is, in day-to-day life, my autism is a big part of me, but it's not all that I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a lot that I am because of my autism, but also because of other conditions in society. And
yeah, I understand what you're saying. I just like what I try to say is like you got to be really, really careful of the survivorship bias, right? So like if I dig into like personal examples, you know, like I understand a great deal about what it's like to live as a very poor person, right? Not homeless or like starving in Africa, but like I understand a great deal about what it's like to like stress over bills and have that be like an overhanging thing. Now, just because I understand that, and understanding that has given me a lot of insight into other things, and has given me good perspective and makes me really grateful for my job. That doesn't mean that I would advocate, hey, everybody else should go be really poor for a few years because it's really good, right? Or you know, I grew up very independent. My parents left when I was 15, 16 years old, but that independence helped me a lot, you know, and it's probably one of the defining aspects of me as a streamer is being really independent. But that doesn't mean that because I made it out of that, you know, as a better person, that I would tell everybody like, hey, like everybody should be neglected by their parents for a long time and, you know, like grow up and you'll be really independent, because it doesn't work that way for everybody, right? And oftentimes those things end up being negative. That's the only thing I mean when I hear, and I heard this argument from the lady last night where it's like, well, I know some autistic people that because of their autism, you know, have achieved really great things because it's a big part of them and whatnot. And it's like, well, okay, sure. But one, maybe they could have achieved those great things regardless. And two, there's a lot of people with autism that don't have these same experiences, that have horrible life experiences as a result of that, you know? So I think you have to be careful about the survivorship bias, you know?
Yeah. All that I'm saying is that I believe that a lot of horrible experience autistic people have in their life is not because of their autism, but because, for instance, their parents don't know how to deal with their autism.
Oh,
and
sure.
There's a lot of misinformation there. There's a lot of bullshit therapies like homeopathy and stuff that doesn't work or that's actually harmful to people.
No, and I understand.
And propagates harmful.
I definitely understand. I agree with that. Yeah. That society can change as well. Like to reform your argument, like you would say that just because gay people have a hard time growing up being gay, it's not fair to tell them to not be gay or to cure their gayness, right? Yeah. So I can understand that. I guess like the only difference is that like I guess I still view autism as something that hurts you in a lot of ways, that if you could alleviate that early on, it's not necessarily like sexuality. Like I guess like you can have a society where you fully accept gay people without having to make like accommodations for them or anything, because gay people can function completely normally as any other person. You know, you don't have to do anything special. You just have to make sure people aren't hating on them. Whereas if you have autism, there are a lot of special and unique challenges that you have to go through in order to fit in. And people can accommodate you, but now we have to go. And I'm not trying to make you feel bad about this, but like generally, like especially for low functioning autistic people, you have to go pretty far out of your way to make accommodations for these people. Oftentimes, these kids are dangerous in normal school settings. You know, if they grow up quicker too, they can do severe harm to people. Children in their early teens that are. I say this as I have a friend that has like a couple of siblings that are like low functioning autistic people, and I experienced a couple of these in daycare where it's very, very frightening to be around. And I'm not saying they're monsters or anything, but like you have to take very special precautions. And it seems like if they just didn't have this condition, they would be so much better off for it. Because growing up is already like a hard thing. Like you've got to learn a lot, you've got to socialize. There's all the other normal challenges of being a human being, and now you have autism thrown on top of it. It just makes everything really difficult, you know? In my opinion.
Yeah, sure.
But like so looking at it from your point of view, I can understand where you're coming from, because oftentimes, so like I try to walk this really fine line of saying like you can simultaneously recognize that something is a negative while still being accommodating towards it. But your problem, I'm guessing, you haven't outright said it, but like the problem in general is that sometimes people can't do that. If they view it as a negative, they just want to demonize the fuck out of it, make no accommodations, and say fuck you, figure it out, euthanize them, eugenize them, or whatever, and like get them out of here, right? And I wouldn't be for that, right? I'm more for the accommodate and also maybe cure people in the future if possible, but I don't think you should demonize the people that currently have it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I haven't said it that concisely, but yeah, that's actually my position.
Okay.
So okay. I hope I kind of brought some points to the discussion you can think about. You brought some points to the discussion I can think about. It was a really, really nice talk.
Okay. Well, yeah, I agree. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Any final concerns?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, no?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, listen, buddy, I love you. Stay safe. Be careful.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Have a nice time.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
This is something that I kind of talk about on stream, and I know that it's impossible to do this, and no one will ever agree that this is possible. One thing that I noticed that really bothers me about people in general, and it applies to autistic people that I spoke to, but more than them, it applies to almost everybody, is I noticed that people have these tendencies to identify themselves with groups, and I guess it's a natural human tendency to want to fit in. You want to feel like you belong in a certain group of people, but I feel like it's really bad. I really don't agree with that. Now, to be fair, my job is trying to stand out, right? My job is to try to be as unique as possible because I want you to watch me over other people, right? So I understand that maybe not everybody views it exactly the same way, but when you hear me say things all the time, like when you hear me say things like culture is cancer and nationalism is cancer and patriotism is cancer, usually when I say things like that, what I mean is I like people to identify as individuals first before they identify as members of groups. Like I notice that people are very big on that. They really want to feel like they're part, like I'm American, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a trans, I'm LGBT, I'm gay, I'm blah, blah, blah. Identify. I feel like it's more important to identify as an individual first without feeling like really strong group things, right? Maybe that's not the best way to go about it. I'm not sure. Maybe there are like negative emotional or psychological things that manifest later on down the line about that. But I noticed that like when I talk to some people, like I notice that some people value things that I consider to be very strange, very, very highly. Like your gender or whatever, right, is something that a lot of people are much more attached to. I think it's one of the reasons why I have a hard time empathizing sometimes with trans issues. Like gender for me is like it's not a very important thing. Whether I was a man or a woman, it's not something that I consider to be like a major defining part of my personality. Like if I was a woman, I don't know, I would hope I wouldn't really be that much different. It wouldn't really bother me much because I don't consider like the fact that I'm a man is like a really important part of who I am, or the fact that I'm an American, or the fact that I'm a gamer, or the fact, like I am a collection of a lot of different thoughts and ideas, but the idea that like you so strongly belong to a certain group that's like the thing that you are the most before anything else. Like, I don't know, it really frightens me, I think. If you were a woman, your name would still be Destiny. Yeah, well, there you go.